you double your conversion rate, you can double your sales, and your CPA would drop to half.
This is insane. I remember with the Bassou company, it was like month after month after month, running paid traffic, getting some sales, but losing money. It wasn't profitable.
I was actually surprised many times with business owners when they jump on a call and then we talk about conversion rate and it's almost like they don't know the leverage.
Sometimes you might push something live and your conversion rate may go down. It's painful, but the reward is very much worth it.
When you're starting out, you don't have kind of like authority in the space, so you're not like an established brand, so you need to really look at how can I convince? To convince, you need to show results. That comes from social proof.
Because I kind of observed myself going through this process of about to pay for something simply because of the price reduction being so strong that I was like, maybe it'll work better because I paid less.
And if you're thinking, hey, I don't want to change my offer, I don't want to change my price, then don't expect fast results. So if you want results fast, you need to be open to.
I know we have different kind of opinions, similar opinions around that pricing component first. And I know you've tested it to various different kind of like successes, myself as well. Talk to me about why we would potentially start at that price component first. Why is that the most important?
Absolutely, because when you look at your conversion rate, I was actually surprised many times with business owners when they jump on a call and then we talk about conversion rate and it's almost like they don't know the leverage. Like they don't know how to do it. Like they're just thinking about, hey, I have a 1% conversion rate, and then I'm asking him, so like I don't know like what to do. So they just like I don't know what to move to actually increase the conversion rate. And if you look at it from that perspective, the first thing is your price. It's what they see first. It's also the perceived value right away of your products. So I have this equation that I did many times in some of my calls when I'm just doing conversion rate optimization. As you increase the price, your conversion rate is kind of like it's going to go in the opposite direction. The more something is expensive, the more people would think about it. Think about, for example, buying a car. It's not the process of you just do it like very quickly. You're going to think about it a little bit. And versus buying, let's say, something very cheap for $2 or $3, like a coffee or something like that, it's going to be very different how you look at it from that perspective. The same thing applies in terms of the business. If your product is priced higher, you're going to have much more resistance in terms of converting people. If your price is lower, you're going to have less resistance. So it's a leverage you can use by default to get more people to convert. And I think you kind of position the same way, correct?
Absolutely. And I think the story that I always mention around this, because I find it so fascinating myself, because like I know exactly what's happening, but at the same time, so Black Friday, I think it was like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I had bought this supplement probably 3 to 4 months before Black Friday, around about like July or August. And it was when it was kind of first coming into a little bit of a craze in the market. I think it's like NMN, whatever. It's like some sort of like energy formula that helps you to kind of like increase your mitochondrial function. And I was like, I'm a bit of a sucker for those things. And so I purchased this supplement. One of my team members, this is very, very good. You should try it. I feel amazing. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. So I purchased this supplement. I think it's about $120. And I remember getting it in the mail and I was like, this is quite expensive. You know what I mean? Like little 30-day, capsules. And I was like, I hope that it's good. Started using it for, I think, 14 days, maybe 20 days. Didn't notice anything at all. Stopped using it, left it in the cupboard, chucked it in the bin. 1 week later, that's it. Now, 3 months later, Black Friday comes around. The same company, they start blasting emails out with 80% off, right?
Okay.
And me, with knowing the product is very ordinary, knowing the product doesn't work, knowing that I had no benefit from the product, click on the link, go to the webpage again, look at it, and I press add to cart, and I'm like, what are you doing right now? You know what I mean? I was
they got you with the offer right away.
I was like, this doesn't even work. I didn't experience any benefits whatsoever, but I found it so fascinating because I kind of observed myself going through this process of about to pay for something simply because of the price reduction being so strong that I was like, I mean, maybe it'll work better because I paid less. Whatever the thing is, you know what I mean? But it completely changed my kind of perception and my experience of even thinking or weighing up, going from, I'm never going to buy this again, to, you know what, maybe I need the second tub of capsules because maybe the second time around it'll be better. So I've experienced so much around that pricing aspect. And there is a book that I read recently, which is fascinating. It's called Confessions of a Pricing Man. I'll put it in the notes below, because it's a firm. His name is, I forgot the gentleman's name. It's one of the biggest companies in the world that has kind of like engineered pricing for most of the companies in the world. Like trillions of dollars have been impacted through the pricing models that this gentleman has put together. I'll have to try and pull it up and get it afterwards, but very, very, very strong. And I mean, like, I've experienced the impact, like, genuinely on a personal level, going from product that doesn't work through to, hold on a second, let me go and purchase it again. So I believe it's and I guess the other aspect that I will reference here as well, in terms of a starting point towards starting at that level when you're looking to lift your conversion rates. I remember with the Bassou company, right back when we first were aiming to crack the paid media front end on cold traffic. We were in a position where every single time we ran cold traffic, it would always be negative ROAS. We would always be losing money. It would be very, very frustrating. And I was like, this is insane. It was like month after month after month. We were running paid traffic, getting some sales, but losing money. It wasn't profitable. And I was like, okay, so how can we get to the point where we figure out, is the product good, or are we going to just like scrap this thing completely in the fastest amount of time? And so we took the price point from, I think it was $39 for the 4-pack, way down to like $17.99, or more than half. Because I was like, I want to, in the shortest amount of time, see, do people want the product? Are they willing to pay for it? Like, is it just completely whacked and nobody wants this thing whatsoever? And so what happened was we brought that right down to $17.99. Conversion went up naturally, really quite quickly. But then we experimented with that next aspect, which was the offer, which we'll get into in a moment. But I want you to share a little bit on your side, Hammond, around the pricing aspect. What are some things that you recommend? What are some things that you see from a pricing perspective that you think people need to be very kind of conscious of in this testing phase of conversion lift?
Absolutely. So first, I understand the strategy here in terms of like you're going with that opposite direction of removing the friction and making sure that you don't have to think about the price. Like, I'll decrease it to the level where if it's not working, then it's not the price, right? So it's really an elimination slash strategy perspective. But if you're launching your business and thinking, hey, I don't want to start low, right? I don't want to give away my product. I don't want to do this. I want to be a premium brand. I don't want to start on a level that doesn't make sense. Then keep in mind, this strategy is just an elimination strategy, just removing everything and kind of focusing on one thing, which is kind of the positioning of your advertising and acquisition for customers. But you don't have to do that. If your product is limited and you know that, so you don't have a lot of units and you know that it's unique, there's no alternative. People can't just go and buy your product tomorrow in the shop. Like, it's just not available. Then that equation that I just mentioned, the price being high and then, the conversion being low, is also, you can kind of hack it. You can look at perceived value and scarce to actually push something, even if it's more expensive. And this is an opposite strategy. But if you're really looking at, I have a luxury brand, I don't want to do this, I don't want to start low, you can start high, which is the opposite. Start high, and then you start going down. If you're looking at, hey, I'm not getting people, like, I'm not converting, then you can start kind of doing the opposite, going down versus starting low and going high. So you have both strategies. Both of them are valid. I would recommend you go high if you have a luxury brand. You don't want to start cheap and you want to, like, hey, I don't want to be low, then you can go high. But keep in mind, people would buy more if they know there is no alternative, or it's almost like there's pain. I literally had one person joining one of my calls and we were talking about offers and positioning. And she was like, I have back pain problems. If I see an actual solution that would work that's not available in the market, I'll pay for it regardless of what amount it is. I'm not going to be looking at the price. So that kind of perspective, like when you have pain or scarce, then you can offset that risk of perceived value versus conversion rate because there's no alternative. So I would go opposite sometimes, and I would just start decreasing if I need to adjust.
It's a really, really good point, I think. And we covered this on one of the calls that I had this week with some of the clients, whereby if you're in a market where your product is not, customers can't potentially like compare like a direct, like side by side competitor. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a lot less of a commodity product, exactly as you said. There's more uniqueness. There's more kind of like, you exist more in a market of one. You know what I mean? You've done well to kind of like create a very unique product. Then by design, you don't need to go and start kind of lowering price. In fact, it would only diminish the uniqueness of your product.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, and that's, I guess, if we, I mean, we're talking about conversion rate lifting, but the conversion rate lifting, I guess, focus that needs to happen before we get to the landing page is build a unique product, obviously.
Yes. That would make things easier. But if you're competing on, as you mentioned, if you're competing with others and there are similar products and there are similar solutions, and you want to increase your conversion rate, then using the price as a leverage, it's a valid strategy. Positioning, a different price, if you lower, you can have a high conversion rate. That's by default. It's really as we talked about, it's like a leverage you can use, but it doesn't mean if it's unique, if you have no alternatives, you can put in a higher price. That's all right.
And I think the one thing that I really want to drill home as well is that the price of your product should never be something that you are scared to change or scared to test. Like the flexibility or the fluidity that you have within all aspects of your business are completely under your control. Whether you add an extra $5, whether you add an extra 10%, whether you add some more into the shipping, whether you reduce the shipping, it's like you always want to be kind of like testing, adjusting, manipulating, looking at different price tweaks that you can make and seeing what you can do to just take the extra $5 that you perhaps added to the shipping and then drop it onto your net profit position. It's like it's very important. I know that sometimes a lot of our clients, they get kind of maybe scared or maybe like, is it okay if I change my price? Is it okay if I reduce my price? Is it okay if I lift my price? And you should always be testing and being like, can I add an extra $2? Can I add an extra $4? You know what I mean? Can I lift the amount of net profit that I'm going to actually capture from every single order?
Absolutely. And keep in mind that, like, I was thinking about like how fast you want results. So if you want results fast, you need to be open to pivot fast. That's by default what I see as kind of the derivative of it. If you want results really fast, what would you need to do? You need to react fast by default. You need to be able to pivot. If you can't pivot fast, then don't expect fast results.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. So I guess in terms of just to kind of like wrap that up as far as like the main focus is to lift your conversion rate. So it depends in answering the question in I guess like a complete way at the end here. It's like lower value products in terms of below say maybe $100 that you have in highly competitive markets where there's a lot of like awareness of people that, oh, that's the competitor, they have a similar product, that's the competitor, they have a similar product. That price reduction strategy can be very effective to test and gauge. Do people want what I'm selling?
Yes, it's an elimination.
Yeah, exactly.
And keep in mind that you can really, like, again, you can really look at this as a fluid thing rather than just a fixed thing. I start with 20, I can go to 30, or I can go to 10. It's fluid. You can run it for a week and then change it later on. If you tell me something can be changed within a week or within a day or within a second, you should not be afraid of it.
And I think what it does, like if I think about it, like, so if you're kind of like, testing creatives or if you're testing certain copy angles or you're testing any form of like front end marketing messaging to particular avatars and you're like, I really want to figure this out quicker. It's exactly what you said. So it's like if you want to figure out like what works quicker and then you reduce as much friction as possible to see which of the creatives are giving the signal, you'll have more data through that funnel so much faster. And then you can take maybe one angle that started to perform a lot better with that reduced price and be like, okay, that seems to be working at this price. We've got 40 purchases. All right, we just broke even, but now let's take that same angle and strengthen it up so much more, get some social proof, put it on the landing page, and then we'll raise the price back up again.
Absolutely. It's really like if you look at it from a business perspective, and I mentioned this in a lot of our sessions, your goal is to survive, is to really make this happen the first year. You can still first year give a little bit more advantage to the customer and then gradually scale up your prices and everything.
Correct.
I think about it as, again, you need to survive, you need to be profitable, you need to have a cash positive situation rather than just I'll stick to the price and I can't change anything because I'm this, let's say, brand that can't do anything because I already position everything already. That doesn't work. You need to really be able to pivot the first year, adjust, tweak, fix, and then scale.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump into this point number 2 of the offer. So the reason I wanted to put this as a second point, because usually it's like most things start with the offer, right? Like most people would say that. Alex Ramosi, talks a lot about like the offer is the first thing. And the only reason I put the price first before the offer in this kind of structure is because I think like in exactly the same kind of like structure that I mentioned before, the main reason that I was even enticed to go back and buy those supplements again was the price. Like I was like, wait, I can get that same bottle of supplements for $20 that I paid $100 for. I'm like, this is insane. So that price component, I believe, has the strongest kind of impact to both like attention or incentive that directs people's behavior to your business, as well as then the net kind of position that you can experience from a cash flow perspective. So the offer, I believe, like if I think about the Bassou company, what happened, I'll kind of like take us through that next stage there. What we did with that business, once we started to get traction at that lower price point, like $17.99, we started to get traction, and it wasn't really very profitable at that level because it was, only such a small amount of margin that was remaining there for acquisition cost. You've got the product cost, you've got the shipping cost. So it was very hard to fit it all into $17.99, right? And so what happened after we started to get traction, there was a product that we had actually sold on the store in isolation by itself. It was a wash bag, like a little like lingerie bag that you'd put the cloth in, you'd throw it in the washing machine, and you'd use that cloth to clean the product, right? And for as long as, I can remember, it was always just on the shop page, on its own shop page, and selling all of perhaps 0 units. Like it would never even sell. The product cost us around about 25 cents Australian dollars to manufacture. So it was very, very kind of high profit margins overall, but we didn't actually test it in any other kind of like formulations or bundles or anything. And so once we actually started to get traction with the price point being lower at $17.99, what we did is we added in that wash bag onto that kind of like, I guess, like offer equation. And then it became the 4-pack as, the main hero product. And then the additional kind of bonus there was free wash bag valued at $10 or $9.99 into that whole situation. And then immediately, I believe the conversion rate went from like, 4.5, 4.6 up to somewhere in north of 7% really quick. And I was like, okay, interesting. This is really making a change to the profitability of the business at the current level, right? And so like that offer then became the thing we started tweaking and adjusting. And then we oriented back over to price again because the conversion rate went up so much. It was like, right, we're selling a lot of volume. How can we now, start to win back some more profit? And so we started going from 17 to 19, 19 to 22, 22 to 24, 24 to 28, et cetera, all the way up until I think at the moment it's like over $30. And we really wound back another $12 to $13 of actual kind of like pricing into that particular kind of like product cost, which all resulted in a much more healthy kind of business overall.
It's amazing. Like if you think about it, like in terms of just what you just mentioned, which is if I was to think about like offers, what can I do, right? I'll kind of like look at what you just mentioned. So you have a gift, and then you have a volume discount, and then you have a discounted price. So if I was to think about what can I actually do as a business owner to position a better offer, like what are my options? You have free shipping that you could do. That's one option. You can gift something, what you mentioned. You can do a volume discount where essentially you discount more. So as they buy more, they save, which is really a good equation or structure for you. You can decrease the price, which what we talked about earlier, like decrease like $10 off. You can also use a variation, which is instead of dollars amount, percentage. So you can play on those two things. You can give a store credit, which is a whole other thing that you can provide. You can also play with, if you buy this product, I'll give you a discount of the other, which was like buy X, get Y or something like that. So you have many options as you look at your business in terms of what can you do. Your goal initially is to think about, I have these options. Maybe I can look at the competitors, see what they're doing. And then from there, I can position something better. And for Bassou, the way that you positioned it is a combo of options. So you went with, we're going to give them a gift, then we're going to do a volume discount, then we're going to do $1 off. So everything seems to be like, it's not just one thing. You use multiple like things that you played with. And it's really fascinating when you think about it as a business owner. You're coming in like, what can I do? Free shipping, volume discount, gift, store credit. You have so many options. Digital products. You can provide a program. You can give like an ebook. You have so many value that you can provide to your audience that you're probably not even thinking about, which is really something I would look at when you look at this conversion rate optimization.
Absolutely. What's your take on the offer? How do you go about kind of like looking at architecting strong offers into businesses that really want to lift their conversion rate? Like, what's your process around that?
I look at it from a perspective of, first, is the offer profitable for you? Because you don't know. Like when you first thinking about it, like, okay, I want to do a free shipping. Can you afford it? Can I do 10% or 20, 30? Can I afford it? So when you're thinking about the first like thing is, can you afford it? And I would start with, and I do this in some coaching session where we go through all the prices, like all the discounted, like a position that you could do, and we can see, can we afford it? Can we afford it? We do the break even and target ROAS. Can we afford it? If you can't afford a 50%, there's no need for us to think about it as a leverage because you don't have it. So I would position what I call like, what can you afford? And then what the competition is doing. Can you compete? And then what can you do that could be better or unique, which normally most of the time what they're not doing. A free gift would be an option that you can leverage if they're not doing free gift. Then you're coming in, you have the same, I would say, kind of level of pricing, and then you're bringing a gift, then you're different. They're going to think about you as I would say, another alternative that's even more attractive because you have something that you're giving on top. And I've seen this many times. A person will be like, I bought from them because they're also giving me this extra thing. And I'm like, okay, that's potentially an element to leverage. So that's kind of how I look at it. So I will look at my targets, can I afford it, then compare to the competition, and then do a better offer. Now, obviously, looking at the value, you have the value equation that Alex mostly talked about in terms of dream outcome, how to position that, the perceived likelihood of achieving something, the time delay, the guarantee. So those are things you can kind of position to really convert that offer. But that's an extension of that.
I think the key thing that I recognized recently as well is that you don't want to get into the same kind of like, so if I think about it from this perspective, Cirque du Soleil, right? They're one of the most successful circuses in all the world, right? I think they're over in Las Vegas at the moment doing their performances. Incredibly successful, really changed the whole kind of like industry of circuses. And what they did is they disrupted the tired, the old, and the kind of like becoming almost like sad model of sitting in a tent, watching like thrashed out animals get, taken around a ring, lions that look like they are really upset at their whole life, jumping through like fire ring hoops and stuff like that. They're very expensive to keep. There's a lot of like legal legislation and things that are constantly like hammering circuses because of how they are treating animals and all of the bad stuff that goes along with it. And so what they did is they took all the good things about that experience, right? As far as like there's this like tent which is quite unique. There's like a kind of a theater aspect in terms of like there's something very impressive visually, and they removed all the bad things out of the equation in terms of like replace the animals with people, right? So Cirque du Soleil just has humans that just do like different like theatrical performances. They do flips, they do like crazy things with ribbons and all these different like performances that are visually very, very, very impressive, but they don't have all the costs, right? And so like it's exactly what he talks about in that Blue Ocean strategy book. But the way that I think about it is like you don't want to go into a market with your offer and then compete on the same like USPs, if that makes sense. So it's like, as an example, like a circus trying to compete against another circus might go, well, we have more, aggressive lions, or we have bigger elephants, or we have, a bigger tent. Do you understand? It's like, and then the other circus goes, well, we have, even bigger lions, and we have even bigger elephants, and they're all kind of like doing the same thing. They're all competing against each other on the same mechanisms, and so like from the consumer's perspective, it gives the consumer more opportunity to go, okay, that size lion for that cost, huh? This size lion for this cost, huh? Right, and then you see Cirque du Soleil, they go, humans flipping in a tent with lights, fun. It's an incredibly like, visually impressive. It's very expensive, about 4 times the cost of a normal circus. I don't have anything to compare this to. Oh my goodness. Right. And so like from that perspective, all of a sudden you go into a market of one. I think about it from the perspective of like you're in a purple ocean. It's not exactly like a blue ocean. It's not new, but it's something the market hasn't seen before. And so it's like, these brands that come together and they go, oh yeah, but I'm going to give away this free gift, which is the same as someone else's. Oh yeah, but I'm going to do this free shipping, which is the same as someone else's. And so it's like that thought process around like, how could I orient my product or position it into a market or serve a particular avatar and then package and stack these things together so it becomes, entirely different, something completely like new to the eyes of the customer. And you're able to just like carve off all of that market share. And you're like, well, I'm not competing anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. It's really like if you look at it from a perspective of positioning, if you have a unique offer, it's always going to win. If you have something that's not in the market, you're going to have that perceived value by default. So I see it as almost like you can still leverage the free gift, but if your gift is technically something that's unique, then you can win using that. So it's really positioning uniqueness rather than anything else in the offer, which again is if you're in this stage, you should have a unique product.
And I think the thing that I love, and I know we've had this discussion recently as well, around one of the biggest elements that I like to draw from, and I mentioned this on the coaching call earlier this week as well, was when you're out there and you're looking at brands to kind of maybe emulate, or you're looking at, I guess, like product research, competitor research, like you're trying to educate yourself about what's in the market. The thing that you don't want to do is just like look at your direct, say for example, you're in the beauty and makeup space, and you go, okay, now I'm going to look at I'm not sure, Hailey Bieber's, what's her company's name? I forgot the name. My wife would kill me. I forgot the company. That brand, right? There's all of these like massive like skincare brands as an example, and you only look at what they're doing, and then you try and copy what they're doing. You go, all right, I'm going to do my landing pages like that. All right, they're doing this plus this free gift. I'm going to do that. All right, they're going to do the free shipping plus X guarantee. I'm going to do that. And so all you're doing is you're becoming more of what already exists, but you don't have the budget to do it well. And your consumers that potentially buy from them already go, oh yeah, I've seen that before. It's just already what their brand does, but it's not really as good, and they don't have as many reviews. Why would I trust them? Right. And so one of the things that I get so much value from myself is looking in completely different verticals, looking at like insurance companies, looking at like software companies, looking at like e-commerce, looking at service companies, looking at SaaS companies, looking at like digital marketplaces, looking at platforms, looking at like TVs and how TVs are sold on every different product. And you're kind of interesting. How can I take that type of an approach that the cold caller just called me to sell me some like, I'm not sure, telesale product, and how could I implement that in here? Or how could I take this like insurance sales process that was very bad and see if I could engineer it into my business? Like those types of learnings that I take from a market research perspective, I always find they bring so much value into the company that I'm working with, and they do it in a way where the prospective customer hasn't seen it before. They're like, oh, what is this? This is different. This is interesting. I've not seen this before with an e-commerce brand. Does that make sense?
It's actually a structure that I've seen many times leveraged, and people are not even aware of this. A concept that you see out there, if you leverage this in your business, if it's like a working structure, then you can really scale to a whole other audience that's almost like impressed by how magic is happening, is because you already used the proven concept. An example here actually was, just to let you know, like with Bassou, we did this. We took an ad that's not necessarily in the beauty space. It's a structure that was more used in the fashion space, from like a big brand like Shapermint. And we took that and used it in Bassou, and it's just insane result right away. And we gave this to our the nurture program in Mastermind. They used this to really scale their ads. But this structure is the same thing. We observed something out there, we took it, and then we repurposed this to our brand and our audience, and it's very different. So if you can do this, then you're going to be very successful, because you're going to look at everything that's working outside, and you have so many businesses that are doing so many amazing things that are very rare to kind of just observe and analyze. And if you use that, you're going to be very successful. So absolutely, I look at this as a strategy entirely.
Very good. I like that a lot. So now we've kind of covered off on the pricing structure being, it's interesting because it is definitely one of the most powerful and like high impact levers that you can pull to begin with, but it needs to be done with care and almost like a close observation. You need to track it. You need to make sure that your finger on the pulse and you're watching every movement in case you, start burning profitability. You don't want to be in a position where you're burning profit. Offer, then that next component. I guess the one piece that I want to close up on with the offer is that I spoke with another client of ours, and he has a tanning brand, and so I had the question asked to him where I was like, okay, so you have this like tanning company, and who is your kind of ideal demographic? And it was like, well, and we'll cover this a lot more as we progress into the content, the copy, into the next episode. But I think this is important because it's kind of an extension into the offer. The way that offer speaks to a particular like avatar or a particular person is very important. And his tanning company, most of the customers, right, that were actually purchasing the product were between 30 and maybe 50 years old. Okay. Then all the language in the actual content, the copy, the messaging behind the offer was oriented much more towards like the 18 to 25. And I'm like, you might have the strongest offer, but it's kind of oriented towards the wrong person. And all the messaging and the mechanisms around that offer, they're going to fall on deaf ears, and they might make you question, like, is my offer any good? And the offer is actually really good, but it's kind of just speaking to the wrong person. It's being presented to the wrong person. So I think that's very important just to close
So
off on the
looking at
offer
the
aspect.
avatar when you're looking at the offer. So making sure that the avatar is kind of like, you're positioning the right offer to the right people. And yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So the last aspect that we wanted to kind of unpack here as part of this first session was the social proof. And I think that the reason I wanted to put this last here was because, let's say, for example, you follow this process, right, and you go and like make some price inflections. You have a strong offer, you get some good signals, you have a lot of people purchasing, perhaps at a break-even position. The thing that you do that for is not to make profit or, I don't know, build your email list, which is kind of cool as well. But the main thing you want to do is build the social proof around your product is good and it does what it promises it's going to do, right? Because most of these founders that I see, 5 reviews, 6 reviews, right? Maybe 10 reviews. There's not much, right? And so the market doesn't really believe you. Like, respectfully, you're a new company, and why would they believe you? There's hundreds or there's thousands of other companies out there that are saying similar things, making similar promises, making big claims. And so one of the biggest strengths that you can integrate or aim to integrate through that process of price inflection, offer adjustment, is how could I farm as many reviews as possible and then use them for social proof, put them into UGC videos, put them onto my landing page, put the messaging. Reason I say this is because when we started adjusting the Bassou landing pages, we took that exact strategy, which was to take a quote from one of our customers, which was implemented on the Bassou landing page, that says, the Bassou product has completely transformed my skin. My skin routine is so amazing, or something to that effect. And that one little implementation of a text bubble lifted the conversion rate in and of itself, because it was real and it came from a customer that said it in the review, right? And so that was a really powerful kind of additional add-on there. So tell me your thoughts on the social proof aspect, Hammond. How do you see this integrated into the conversion experience?
Absolutely. So first, the brand with like Haley's Road Skin. So that's actually the
Road.
brand
Yes.
that, yeah, it's like, hey, you
Thank you
don't
for
have
that.
like, yes, it's like when you're starting out, you don't have like let's say that social, that's kind of like authority in the space. So you're not like an established brand. So you need to really look at, how can I convince? To convince, you need to show results. That comes from social proof. So your goal when you're starting out is thinking about, and I think even Ezra, the owner of like, a lot of apps, and also Boom by Cindy Joseph, he actually did this test, and he mentioned this a lot in his like structure in terms of case studies. He started testing just a landing page and really convert well, and then he added some people actually saying like, this is working. It works a little bit better, but then he looked at, what is my audience? And it's very similar to the skin, like the tanning situation. So he was like, okay, my audience is a little bit like, it's an older demographic, it's 40 plus. So how about I just bring people 40 plus talking about their experience every single time, run the ad. And if you look at his active ads, even right now, it's just 40 plus testimonials. That's the main structure he scaled with to multi-million. So he did like crazy numbers in the first year, and from there. But it's really what he leveraged, the testimonials. The audience is what they expect. If you're 30, you're looking for a person that's in 30, like in your age group, telling you that this is working. So he leveraged both social proof, but also avatar. So a combination of the two, both in the landing page, in the emails, and in the ad. So they see this first. It's working. We're the same. And it's removing also that burden of, you need something extra. So there is like a special thing that you need. It's really a person like you that achieved this. It's not a professional. It's not a model, just a person. And they got this. The moment you add this in your page, you're going to see an uplift most of the time of conversion rate, because people are like, hey, they did it, and we can kind of do it in the same thing.
It is incredibly powerful, the kind of the amount of kind of impact that a lot of good quality reviews make. The other thing that I thought was fascinating, and I know we discussed this a little bit earlier in relation to all of this, backs on having a great quality product. Like, if your quality of your product is poor, you're slapping, lipstick on a pig, so to speak, and you're trying to like, spin up something that doesn't really help people. All of these things are going to be a much everything's an uphill battle. But if the quality of your product is poor, the how steep that hill is even more. Like it is so challenging. Like you are fighting tooth and nail to get one review. You are fighting tooth and nail to get like one repeat customer, because what you sell is inferior and it isn't unique and it doesn't help people and it doesn't do anything to improve the quality of their life. So I think fundamentally all of this is baked onto that. Like you must believe as a founder that like my product is exceptional. I am here to deliver exceptional transformation for every single person that purchases from me. That's where it starts. And then from there, and the reason I'm so passionate about this is because for the Bassou company, as an example, I am, and I encourage anyone listening to this to go into the Facebook ads library, search my Bassou, right? Look at any of the active ads. Look in the comments of the active ads. And like there are hundreds of customers, hundreds of happy customers that comment the most ridiculous comments. I'm like, oh my God, you mean to say that this little cloth has done this much good? It's like, I've bought this for my sister. I bought this for my mum. I bought this for my family. I can't believe it. My whole skin is improved. This has changed my whole life. I've been a customer for 4 years. And so like, the moment that somebody is potentially considering purchasing, they click on the comments and they go, okay, I'm good.
Convinced. Testimonials.
Let's go.
Absolutely. It used to be actually a strategy. I remember like early days of like when this was kind of a way to get more conversions. Some brands would actually either pay for this, like have someone kind of do this, which is I would say the dark kind of side of this. But
The black
what
hat.
actually I would do, yes, what I would actually do would be you can, as a page, comment on your page the reviews that you have, just a screenshot of them. You don't have to do anything special, just comment the reviews that you have in your store, which actually would increase the conversion rate because they're going to see the reviews in the comments that are in your website. So you just like screenshot, comment, this is what our customers are saying, and you can show them the comment. If you do this, you can do the same in your page, by the way. It's another hack. You can go to your own landing page and have the comments of Facebook in there to show also some socials. So I've seen both ways kind of these things kind of implemented. But as I mentioned, the dark side, obviously in the past, some brands would pay to have some customers or some people commenting. But right now I would just do the regular way, which is just direct them, show them this. You're going to have you're going to have organic people doing this by default, but just encourage this with your page, actually sharing to kickstart the process. And then you're going to have people doing this.
That's a really good point, actually, because what I don't want to have happen is, people listening to that as an example, what I said, and they go, oh, geez, like, I don't have hundreds of people commenting on my product. Does that mean that my product's crap? And so sometimes you need to reach like a certain velocity, right, of customers. And at the same time, there is that kind of like tipping point where it's like one customer might say something that kind of initiates. You know what I mean? And so what you mentioned, I think, is actually very good because, if you're in a position where you're not really seeing that much yet, social proof on your comments, social proof people tagging you on socials and sharing content, it's like you can potentially initiate that a little bit. And I know one thing that my wife was very, very good at is every time she would do like a giveaway on social media, right? So she would do, a couple of free beds as an example, and she might do in collaboration with another company. It always would be very effective. And the interesting thing that would happen is that the amount of social proof that would build through that of all the people that would post about the product, talk about the product, share it on their socials, share it on their stories would explode tremendously. And so I think sometimes what it does is it almost like conditions and teaches your audience that it's okay to share, right? Like we like seeing your posts on Instagram. We like seeing your comments on our stories. We like seeing your comments in our posts. And it kind of like trains the audience that like, this is a really good behavior, if that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
Actually, HiSmile played on this at one moment. They were scaling their ads, and if you commented, they would reply back with a meme. And people would be like, hey, this is like I want to comment. Because if I comment, they're going to reply back and they're going to add something funny. And they try to do this in a way that's very smart to kind of encourage you to comment. I actually looked at their ads and I was like, I'm curious. Like I want to comment to see what would they say. And they really play on this in terms of like being funny to increase the engagement and obviously drive more sales.
Yeah, I think the social proof can't be like outstated. I mean, each of these three that we've covered right here, I feel like these can be complete episodes in and of themselves, which I think is helpful for people. But if you're in a position where you're, looking to lift your conversion rate and you're looking to do it in a way where you're like, all right, so should I start with my button colors? Should I start with, adding more layers to my pages? Or should I start with start here, you know,
Yes.
and really spend, it's like the 80-20 rule. Eugene Schwartz used to always say, like, you should spend 80% of your time writing your headline because the rest of it people don't read. And this is almost the same. It's like if you put 80% of your time into the structure around your pricing, the offer, and how that offer links to a particular avatar really well, and then the social proof, like I've seen some crap landing pages. They're ugly, but they nail these aspects really well, and they make such a disproportionate impact to the kind of profitability of the company. So spend a lot of time here, and don't get lost in the idea that I need to be doing all these things all at once. I need a unique, different structure for my brand, or I need like a different way to do this. Like I can't. Overcomplicating the problems you're solving usually is the reason that I see so many founders just get stuck. They start losing money, they get overwhelmed, and they're like, I need help. I know there's been some people that we spoke about recently, Hamen, that had a similar situation to this, where they had a big mess up and they're like, I need help, right?
Yes.
And so don't do that.
Yes, absolutely. You need to really focus on the elements. So first, your leverage pricing, and that's we talked about this, and then the offer, how to position properly to that avatar, and finally confirming you can actually do it. Social proof. If you do this, that seems simple, but that should allow you to double, triple your conversion rate if you split test properly. And we do this in our own calls. If you actually part of the mastermind or part of our higher tiers, we're going to work with you on solving these problems. And actually, we split test together and we look at what's working and what's not. But this is how I would do it, really structuring properly and then looking at the numbers and making decisions.
And it's a challenging I guess like workflow to process as well, because sometimes you'll do a test and it won't work, and sometimes you might push something live and your conversion rate may go down, and for a week you might lose money, and it's like it's painful, but like the reward is very much worth it. It's like once you get there and you're like, wow, I doubled my conversion rate. I can literally double my spend right now and still make the same amount of profit. Holy, what it opens up for you is incredible. Like it is very, very, very powerful. And so I think if you're in those stages, 10, 20, like probably 20 to 30K a month, and you haven't done too much since launching, except for like do some ads and, do some creatives all the time, then starting to like think about these types of things as you get to that 100K level is going to be really crucial to ensure that the profitability of that scaling pathway is a lot higher, really.
And if you're thinking, hey, I don't want to change my offer, I don't want to change my price, I don't want to change I'll argue about social proof. We're still going to talk about the other element that you can leverage, the landing page structure, everything else. But just to tell you, these are the first things that you can look at if you want to really that fast pivot and pushing conversion rate.
Absolutely. So looking forward to going through over the next couple of episodes, 2 more episodes. We're going to cover off on the content, the copy, and the visual elements of that landing page, kind of that make the most impact, and the things that you need to have on your landing page, and the stages and the sequences of where certain messages need to be to maximize conversion. And then in the last episode on this series, we'll do the technical specifics, that really kind of like strategic aspects from an engineering and design perspective, page load speed, all those good things, some different apps and things that you can use to split test as well, which I think will be very, very helpful. So super pumped to go through these next couple of episodes in the mission to help you lift your conversion rate. Now, the one ask that I have is this: go through and action these things in whichever capacity that you have within your disposal. And when, not even if, but when some of these things work for you, please reach out to us and let us know. I'd love to hear from you and have any form of feedback to say, you know what, I rejigged my offer around this blue ocean strategy, this purple ocean strategy. I really focused on social proof, or I adjusted my pricing, I increased my pricing, I decreased my pricing, and as a result, this is what happened. That's what really lights us up. I know, Hamen, you're obsessed with feedback and getting feedback from our clients, so that's very, very meaningful.
Absolutely, and I would actually be surprised if you don't get any result by implementing those three. If you don't, then I actually want you to also reach out, like,
Yeah,
hey, I tried these, it didn't work, because I would probably look at why. Like I really want you to reach out, even if you're not like, hey, it didn't work, because I'll be very surprised. I've been in the business for 10 years. I'll be surprised if you don't get any results from these.
absolutely. I think the one thing that I probably want to encourage you to do as well as we finish up here is just sometimes what happens in your business is you feel like you're stuck, like you've been solving the same problem with the same like set of tools in a way for a long time, and you feel like you can't do anything. You feel like you're frozen a little bit, like oh no, I've tried all the creatives. Oh yeah, I've tried all of the email market. I mean, sometimes you feel like you all the things have been exhausted, and so sometimes just that little bit of like new action, or that little bit of like overcoming that fear sometimes to make some changes, just gets you back into momentum and keeps things moving again. So take that first step, make some of these changes, start to tweak and adjust some of the things inside of those first three elements, and very, very excited to unpack some of these up and coming sessions with you to help increase your conversion rate.
Absolutely. Looking forward for the next time. We're going to tackle other things. Really, I'll be surprised if you guys don't increase your conversion rate.
Very good. Thanks so much, Hamen. Really enjoyed this episode, and pumped to go through these next couple with you. Thanks a lot.
See you soon.